So we can go ahead and get started at 6 o'clock. Is everyone ready? Okay, we'll call the February 1st, 2024 Planning Commission meeting into session. Melissa, you want to do roll call?
Yes, Chair Clow,
Present?
Vice Chair Lawrence, Commissioner Lucero,
Here.
Commissioner Morondo,
Here.
Commissioner Reland,
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
He's excused.
Okay, thank you, Madam
It's his
Chair.
wife's birthday.
Okay, Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Okay, next we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Morondo. Okay, next we're moving to the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda from staff or commissioners?
No changes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Lawrence,
Yes.
Commissioner Lucero,
Yes.
Commissioner Morondo,
Yes.
Commissioner Reland.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Okay, now we'll move to the approval of the December 7th, 2023 minutes. Are there any changes to those minutes from staff or commissioners?
No changes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Lucero,
Yes.
Commissioner Morondo,
Yes.
Commissioner Reland,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith. I'm sorry, Commissioner Lawrence.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
We'll move on to findings and conclusions. It's in case number 2023-7207, 1941 Caja de Oro Grant Road General Plan Amendment from Residential Mountain and Rural Protection Area to Community Commercial. Are there any changes to those findings and conclusions?
No changes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Morondo,
Yes.
Commissioner Reland,
No.
Commissioner Lawrence,
Yes.
Commissioner Lucero.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
And next, we'll move to the findings and conclusions on case number 2023-7208. That's 1941 Caja de Oro Grant Road rezoning from R1 to C2. Any changes to those findings and conclusions?
No changes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Reland,
No.
Commissioner Lawrence,
Yes.
Commissioner Lucero,
Yes.
Commissioner Morondo.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
There's no old business, so we'll move to new business. There's one new business, new matter on the agenda, and that is case number 2023-7639, and that's 1309 St. Francis Drive rezoning.
How about that? Okay, thank you, Commissioners and Chair Clow. As Chair Clow mentioned, we're here to hear case 2023-7639. It's a rezoning of 1309 South St. Francis Drive from R21 to C1 of a parcel that is sized 0.13 acres. So this case is brought here by Robert Evans, the agent for Ignacio Patislas, owner, to request a rezoning of this parcel from R21 to C1 for the property that's currently zoned R21. I'm sorry, that's redundant. Okay, so we are recommending that the Planning Commission recommend approval to the governing body of this case. One motion will be required for this case, which is a move to recommend to the governing body to approve or deny case number 2023-7639. So just a quick background, this is a pretty simple case. There's no development attached to it. There is no general plan amendment required because the future land use map actually already matches the current use. So all we're doing here is a rezoning of this property to match what is currently being done on the property. Currently, it's a office for a food distribution company that is being operated as a legal non-conforming use in the R21 district. This rezoning would allow the current use to become conforming with the use and with the future land use maps intended use for that property along South St. Francis Road, which we all know is a highly commercial district rather than a dense residential area. So the property did go under some recent improvements to come into compliance for ADA, landscaping, and parking. So there were really no improvements requested as part of this rezoning. There's no development plan or anything like that attached to it. So we're just approving it as is, and we don't have any conditions of approval or anything like that to go along with this rezoning for improvements because they've already been done. There will be no change of use associated with this rezoning, at least according to the applicant. And so they just want to bring their property into compliance with the current use. So there will be no change in impact. So quickly, I'll just go through the details of the property. So this is 1309 South St. Francis Drive. As you can see, everything around it, as you can see on the rezoning, on the zoning map on the left, is zone C1. However, these two parcels here are zoned R21. I'll go back quickly. The parcel directly to the south that is also zone R21 is a residential home that is currently occupied, and apparently the owner was approached by the applicants to see if they also wanted to rezone. They declined. So we're only rezoning this one parcel, or the request is only to rezone this one parcel, which is currently a commercial use, as you can see from the parking lot in the aerial. As you can see from the future land use map, it is currently already zoned for, or not zoned, but shown in the map as a commercial office district, which is a future land use designation that is generally conforming to what we know as South St. Francis Drive. There is the public homes behind the property. That's the R21 density, which is maybe why this property was zoned R21, but it's kind of unclear why this property was zoned R21 in the first place. It doesn't match the character of the corridor. So in conclusion, we believe that the application meets all of the criteria for rezoning. I think the one that sums it up the most is criteria 3, which it asks if the rezoning is compliant with the general plan and the future land use map, which it is. Specifically, it complies with section, let's see here, 174, economic diversity, development, implemented comprehensive strategy to increase job opportunities, et cetera, by allowing commercial uses in the appropriate context. Additionally, it meets guiding principle 5.3G1, encourage professional and administrative offices to locate near and in neighborhood centers. So with that, I'll conclude my brief presentation. Just with that, it meets all of our criteria, and I think that's why we recommend approval of this rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll open up for the commissioners if they have any clarifying questions. If not, Commissioner Morondo? Okay, if not, then we'll move to the applicant.
Go ahead and swear you in. I have to swear you in. Okay, do you swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Robert Evans with Eleanor Design Services, and it's 8 Tasuki Glass Lane, Tasuki.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm here today representing Ignatius Patsalis. He purchased this property 5 years ago, 2018. And it was, Shamrock was there when he bought it. And he wanted to get in compliance with the Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We wanted to get in compliance with the zoning, the future land use map. And thought that that would be the best way to keep in compliance. The only other thing I would like to say is that it says distribution food. It's just the office for Shamrock. Shamrock has other facilities. They have vendors come there and drop things off and then pick them up and take them to other places with food. That's about it. Answer any questions?
Any questions by commissioners? Thank you. I will now open the matter up for public comment. Is anyone here from the public wanting to comment on this matter? Maggie, is there anyone on Zoom?
Thank you, Chair Clow. We have one person on Zoom. If anybody, if you would like to speak now, please raise your Zoom hand and we will unmute you and allow you to give comment during this time. All right, I don't see any hands up.
Okay, we'll close the public comment section. Are there any comments from the commissioners? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve case 2023-7639, 1309 St. Francis Drive rezoning.
Second.
Commissioner Lawrence,
Yes.
Commissioner Lucero,
Yes.
Commissioner Morondo,
Yes.
Commissioner Reland.
Yes.
The motion has been approved.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to staff communications.
Thank you, Chair Clow. Yeah, I just wanted to give a few updates, and then I want to have Daniel Alvarado actually give you a little bit of update on the code and the general plan processes. We did bring Paseo de Vista rezoning and master plan to the governing body last month, and that was approved. That was a master plan for a future subdivision and a rezoning from R1 to R3, so that was approved. And we're preparing the Caja del Oro rezoning as well to go to governing body. We have hired 3 new senior planners, so that's amazing. I know, yeah, it's good news. So we promoted from within, and then we've got 2 new people coming. One who's moving here from the Northwest Portland area, and one who just recently relocated from Hawaii. So yeah, exciting stuff. And Daniel's just got a quick update on the chapter 14 code update processes, and he can give a little bit of a high level update on the general plan update as well.
Thanks, Maggie, Councilor, or Commissioners, Chair Clow. So the code is chugging along, and I'm happy to report we have our first draft of a section of the code in staff hands. We are going to take a first pass at it to make sure it's everything we expect, and then we are going to hand it off to what I understand to be your new subcommittee for policy. Is that correct? So that subcommittee will get a copy, and I'm sure everybody here can get a copy for that matter, to review and make comments on, and send them back to the consultant for their review and adding to it. So it's going to be an iterative process. It's a real rough draft right now. I mean, it's not in a bad state, but I mean, it has a lot of notes and footnotes and things that we have to clear up as we move through the review process. So, but it's a great first step. It's about the first third, I would say, of the code. And the next installment, the consultants anticipate to give us the rest of it, like the whole thing. So that'll be pretty exciting. And I think we can probably expect that in the next 2 to 3 months to get that full draft. And then from there, we'll move into another engagement period where we'll bring that draft to the public. and have a series of public meetings. Obviously, have the counselors and city leadership weigh in, and then eventually move towards adoption. So, yeah, it's exciting times because we kind of are starting to see the light now. So we'll hopefully have an adoption this summer is what we're shooting for. But obviously a lot has to happen in the meantime. A lot of it is sorting out what we want to do in phase one versus holding off, excuse me, versus holding off for phase two. So part of the jobs of the COG and TOG, the Citizens Advisory Working Group and the Technical Advisory Working Group, are to determine what parts of what we want to put in this first phase or we want to put in the second phase. So we're going to be working with them over the next few months, probably a series of at least three. Well, we meet with the COG every month. We meet with the TOG less regularly. They want to meet more when they have something to actually review. So now, so we'll be meeting with them and working with them to finalize our priorities for phase one. Do you have any questions about the code? Great.
Any questions?
I'll just say, so when we do give a copy for you guys, it's going to be on Conveo again, which is that same web-based app for comments that you have to log in, but then everybody can look at the same document and leave comments and see each other's comments. We'll probably have a different link for different groups. So maybe a link for Planning Commission and then a link for the COG, a link for the TOG to keep those items separate, but we'll let you know how that's going to work coming soon. Okay.
Yes. Commissioner Lucero?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Alvarado. I just want to express my gratitude to you and the city staff for taking this role on. I mean, it's super exciting for me to know that this code rewrite's coming after so much time. And I just want to appreciate you all. And I know that there's turnover and there's, a lot happening right now. And I just want to show my gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucero. And I'll just reemphasize that, phase one is just going to be the nuts and bolts, making it a lot more reusable, user-friendly. There are going to be some changes here and there. I know the COG has indicated they really want to see things like affordable housing incentives included in phase one. So things like that will be coming, that will be, items of discussion for sure. But this phase one draft is not going to, it's not tearing up the code. It's not going to revolutionize the city. It's simply making it usable and a good ground level based document for us to build on with phase two and the general plan and so on. So, yeah. Okay. Unless you have any other questions about the code, I can just give a quick update about the general plan, which is also kicking off or rolling at least. We have done we've obviously got our RFPs in. We got several good proposals, and we've selected a finalist, but that selection has to be vetted by procurement, and then we go through a contract negotiation process. And then once we have a contract at that time, it'll go to governing body and also you guys for a recommendation from you, and then eventually an approval from governing body regarding actually approving the contract, because it's above the threshold of a contract that could just be approved by city manager, which is what actually happened with the code rewrite. That one we could just approve by city manager. This one has to go to the governing body because it's likely going to be above that threshold. So it's still going to be some time, and we can't reveal who that finalist is until we have a contract nailed down and that sort of thing. But we're hoping in the next month or so to have be able to make that announcement and move into the approval process for the contract. Okay.
Any other questions, comments? Heather, you have something?
Yes, quickly, Sarah Lamboy. Good evening, Chair Clow and members of the commission board. I just have a couple of slides because as we're going into the contract negotiations, I sort of want to have some initial thoughts from the planning commission on some of the things we should be looking for. We certainly do have sort of a high-level proposal, but we're going to be getting into the nuts and bolts. And as you may have heard during the public meetings with the zoning code update, a lot of comments were related to the general plan update. And just want to make sure that maybe from what you've heard to now, I'm sorry, there we go. That there may be some additional thoughts that you might have. So this is a presentation that we gave a while back, and what is a general plan and what are we trying to accomplish? And as you know, we have a mini layer type of culture here with starting with the First Peoples all the way up to more recent arrivals. And it's important to make sure to listen to the entire community. So one of the components that we were looking for was a robust community engagement plan associated with the general plan. Also, the component of the general plan that's going to be really important is having attainable goals and defining them clearly. The 1999 general plan was a great document, and there were over 500 goals that were outlined, and many of them, Daniel did a lot of hard work. Many of them have been achieved, but it's not really, there's not a good metric to identify those. So it's to be more clear. Also, we need to tie the general plan to capital improvements projects. So for instance, there's a transportation map, a current transportation plan map and street network illustrating the different types of streets. And then what is cost affordable in the next 3 to 5 years? What are our improvements going to be? And then cost, attainable over the next 10 to 20 years on what kind of improvements we're going to be making to our transportation network. And that is multimodal. So it considers, all of these different things like bicycle, pedestrian, transit, as well as the vehicle, emphasizing more alternate modes of transportation. So we need to be accountable, and we need to be able to have regular updates and checking our progress. So the plan components are going to include different phases, but existing conditions analysis, subject matter chapters, and then linked with code changes. So we have a really unique opportunity here in that the zoning code process is going to be occurring somewhat concurrent with the general plan process. So we can marry those two documents to ensure that they're not conflicting, because right now the zoning code initially was adopted in 1987, and there are a lot of things that have changed between 87, 1999, and now. So we really need to have a good relationship between the two. Also, we are going to be looking at a 20-year plan, but we need to think about 40 to 80 years in some aspects like water supply and what are we going to do to plan for growth and sustainable growth that encourages infill development, redevelopment, and responsible use of resources. So those 5-year reviews will be important, but I think there should be a 1-year check-in. The City of Tucson has a website in which they provide regular check-ins on how is our progress. And that's an intent to do here is to make sure that we make the general plan a more livable document. So there are a lot of existing chapters, and the proposed chapters will be more linked to the issues of the time, such as mobility and accessibility, the downtown plan, and our character of our city. 5 years ago, we didn't know about Midtown, and Midtown is going to be a good case study on how we can redevelopment in sort of our near suburbs, and how what kind of density we can achieve and what kind of uses that we can get. We're pivoting now. The local economy is informed by the film industry, as well as more influence from bioscience and other spinoff industries from Los Alamos. But we also feel that the actual pressure from Los Alamos, because more and more people live here because Los Alamos is becoming landlocked and cannot provide the housing. So engagement components will include a robust computer engagement program. On the left is sort of online surveying and mapping what are the worst intersections in the city, what's the experience from a pedestrian level, really getting down to the nitty gritty and like, how is my life impacted by different elements of the city? How does the city work for me? And then also making sure that we educate the community as well so that they can make informed comments to us. Because not everybody is a city planner. And it needs to be, logical and understandable. So one of the components is that, based on the Midtown model, is that we will have, paid groups that will be actually conducting some of the charrettes and the design. So there can be separate groups that can actually pull comments together amongst in their interest. Another thing is going to recreation centers, going to community meetings, going to where the people are to get comments and not just having workshops such as this with Midtown, but actually getting out into the community and getting those types of comments from the different communities. Part of the stakeholder engagement will include regional efforts as well with our Native American partners in Tusuque Pueblo and the Agua Fria Village Association, as well as other interest groups like the outdoor industry, labor unions, Friends of Santa Fe Architecture, and the like. So we're really looking forward to this, possibility. And like Daniel said, we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And it's our hope that the strategic plan position will be approved soon so that we can advertise for that strategic planner, because that will be part of not only are we going to be doing the general plan update and the zoning code update, but we also need to look forward to the implementation of that general plan and zoning code. So it's going to be a lot of work for our team, but we are all excited about it. And we just need to think about how our community can grow and how do we want to see the community grow. So that is all I have. The general plan team includes Jason, Maggie, Daniel, and me. And we had a great evaluation team. So we'll also have a robust staff team from many different departments that will be part of the review. And of course, we're looking forward to your comments. So are there any comments that you might have or things that we want to look for as we're negotiating our contract?
Commissioner Lawrence?
Thank you, Chair Clow. I really liked what you had to say about the community engagement, your plan for how to do that. I think that sounds great as a way to try to reach the most people on this topic where it's hard to get people to necessarily come out. I wanted to ask, or maybe it's just a prompt for further thinking. You mentioned a little bit about capital improvement integration, but you also used the example of Midtown, which really required a lot of sort of agility. And I'm wondering if you've thought about how you're planning to integrate that, if you have any examples, or maybe it's just pointing out the need to have that balance, that we need to be able to address those things that come up, especially if you have a plan of a 20-year time frame up to 40 to 80, where we're not going to be able to necessarily predict those things like Midtown, but those are the things that are really going to make a huge change.
Yes, Chair Clow, Commissioner Lawrence, you're exactly right. And we do need some of that agility and flexibility. You are correct, but we also need to align that with the general plan goals writ large. So the intent is not to make it so inflexible, but also because new opportunities arise all the time. And that's why the consistent review of the general plan and those priorities is really important, because, there are needs that the community have that can be emergency needs, like the culvert in West Alameda was one of those examples. But then there's also changes in priorities as well. So it's really nice that we have the tool of the Metropolitan Redevelopment Authority for the Midtown project, because then some of those financial tools can be a one-off and can be related to tax increment financing and other tools that the city at large might not have. So, but yeah, that's a very good point. Something to think about.
Commissioner Morondo?
Hi, Heather. My main comment would just be that, like in the talk, the idea of the general plan coming last, there was a lot of back and forth of, oh, was that the right time to do it? I always felt that it was because it allowed more time, because it is kind of the core, direction of everything. I guess along those lines, though, my main comment would be that, I would hope that there would be ways to tie more specifically into the code, particularly where it came to incentives. Equity came up a lot in the draft, and I think particularly what equity means to me in a lot of ways is a wide net of voices. The idea of the charrette, I think charrettes is great along those lines. But particularly finding ways that the general plan could have more specific ties to incentives in the actual code. Because right now it's kind of, the general plan is really just a context to the code, right? And there's not as much, I mean, I think that's what you meant when you go back and you look at the prescriptions of the current code, there's 500 of them. There's not exact ways that it interacts with the code in terms of how do you keep track of, did this happen or not? It'd be great if the consultant would be able to integrate that, particularly for me when it comes to affordable housing.
Yes, that's particularly important, Chair Clow, member, I'm sorry, Commissioner Morondo, too many boards. So, but, part and parcel of this is the digital platform to make sure that the general plan and the zoning code talk to each other, and people can be reminded of those obligations and the incentives. So the digital platform is going to be addressing a lot of deficiencies that we have right now. For instance, you'll be able to go onto the GIS map, click on a site and be able to pull up the subdivision plat, the development plan, or any building permits. That is something that makes it difficult for people to find information. And this digital platform is intended to address a whole lot more than just the general plan. So that could be a great reminder, but also, we'll think and remember that when we're going through both projects. I think that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Add to that, Commissioner Morondo, Chair Clow, as you remember, there is a phase 3 of the code where we will be coming back and, to the extent possible, implementing policies identified in the general plan into the code. And those are going to be the tough questions that will be informed by all of this engagement that we do during the general plan process. So, while it seems like we're starting the code first and that might be a little out of order, in reality, the code will come last, and that will be the time to do implementation. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Seems overwhelming to me, but.
That's why we're hiring consultants.
So moving to the committees, what we had discussions about sort of spreading the work around. And so what we decided to do was to have 2 special committees. One that would be involved on the rewrite to the code and ultimately the general plan. And then the other would be the policy subcommittee that would continue. So pretty much everybody here will be on a committee. And when we get new people, I think we can add them to the committee also. So the policy subcommittee will be Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Lucero, and Commissioner Reland. The 3 of you have been on the committee. I think that you are pretty much done with the ENN process. And now did all of you give your notes to Jason? I saw that Peter did. I know Pilar needed to give you some notes, and also Sheb, I think you did too.
Earlier in the process, yes.
But most recently, I had a conversation with Jason about it, and honestly, his direction on it was sounded great to me, so.
I think where we're at on that project is staff is going to pick it up from here and sort of figure out what to do with it.
Chair Cloud, that's correct. We're taking the work of the policy subcommittee and reviewing that now and looking at next steps of how to implement it, with phase 2 of the code.
And then, in terms of talking with staff, it appears what they need help on next would be, outdoor dining. And that will occur when I think there's staff help the committee staff address that issue. And so there's not a real clear timeline as to when that will be. And I think it's important. So that'll be driven by staff in terms of when when they have the time. And now with 3 new employees, might happen sooner rather than later. Then the next committee would be a special committee to address the rewrite, the amendments to the code and the general plan. And that committee would consist of Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Lawrence, Commissioner Mirando, and myself. And again, we'll, I think, take direction from staff in terms of how, what they want us to do. It sounds like the first thing is for us to review the rewrite that is, I guess, ready and will be brought to us. And will we do it individually, have special meetings, or what? What do you envision, Jason?
Madam Chair, I think we have to work out those details, but I think the main intention is that we want the policy subcommittee, dedicated to the code rewrite, to review the materials that have been given to us from Clarion for staff review, for initial staff review. We would like for those to be reviewed by you all concurrently. So basically just, to add your expertise to the staff review.
Mm-hmm. I think it'd be helpful. And I think it's also helpful that when it comes before us for recommendation to city council, that at least 4 of us will have a pretty good feel for it. I think I would recommend that everyone else that are not on the planning special committee start looking at it, because I think it's going to be pretty dense, and it's going to be difficult for us to make a recommendation if we haven't done our serious homework before the meeting. And I don't know if it'd be 1 meeting or a couple meetings or what, how you have planned. I guess we just take a look and see how complicated it is. Any comments, questions? Okay, if not, any other matters from from staff or the commission? Commissioner Lucero?
Thank you, Chair. I have yet to attend a policy subcommittee meeting, so I still don't know, the logistics of it. So I'd love to catch up.
Sorry, Chair Clow. Yeah, Commissioner Lucero. Generally with the subcommittee, the Planning Commission Policy Subcommittee, we've met over Zoom, on Thursday evenings that we're not here. And so that's worked. And I know for the review of the code, we'll have that Conveo, it's a software where you guys can all log in and, review the code and leave comments, just general comments or corrections, and then comment upon each other's comments and that sort of thing. So there can be a little bit of dialogue. And then I think it would make sense to, get together and discuss those after everybody's had a chance to digest the several hundred pages of this first draft.
Great, thank you.
And let me just ask, is it, it's in the same format, the code's in the same format as it is now, it's just amended, or are
It looks
new sections, or is
Yeah,
it totally new?
It looks different Has a lot more graphics. You know, like Daniel said, there's still a lot of notations and things because they're trying to take all of our comments and put it into one document. They've done some things like highlight sections that they believe should be moved into other sections. But they just haven't done that yet, you know, or moved around. And they've highlighted certain things that they think should just be removed from the code and put in more like policy documents. So yeah, I mean, but it doesn't look different than what you see now. There's more kind of nice graphics and headers, and it is a bit reorganized as well, so.
And is there a comparison? Is there something for us to compare it to? Or are we looking at a brand new document?
It's a brand new document, yeah, I would say. We have Word versions and PDFs, and, you know, you'll have that Conveyo link, which is basically like, but that's what it will look like. And there's live links in it for references and things like that. So.
And is there any substantive changes in the first 1/3?
There's been a few, but they're relatively minor and they're very well like called out.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but we can go over those, you know, after you've had a chance, yeah. There were just some glaring things where we were like, yeah, we really need you to like fix that. I don't know if you have an example, Jason.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say it might be good for the first, meeting with the subcommittee to invite Clarion and just have them give you all an overview like they've given us very recently. I think it was really helpful. So I think we could probably orchestrate that for the first.
Yeah, I think that'd be helpful to point us.
I would say in general, that I think they've done a really good job with the reorganization and making it really clear, what they're addressing, what's being changed where. To your point about the referencing the existing code, we may want to talk to them about that because that's actually a question I had, and we're just, we're in process right now, so I haven't gotten, to speak to them about it yet. But I think it would be really helpful to have a reference to the existing code section that's being, changed, because they're definitely moving things around and reorganizing them throughout the code. And I think it'll make a lot more sense, but yeah, I think it'll be good to have that cross-reference.
Commissioner
In
Wu-
fact, I apologize. In fact, we may want to leave it in there in perpetuity because it'll help people that are, that use the code extensively now
Mhm.
to understand, what the old code looked like.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, how did they make sure they haven't left something out? Commissioner Wheelan.
Just a quick thing for staff. When you guys are communicating to us about the policy subcommittees and so forth, will you really kind of spell it out? Because on a few of those links, it wasn't clarified, like when you would send an email saying this is canceled. What's canceled? And then also maybe just have one person leading it, because there was one time where we were supposed to be doing a policy subcommittee and it was starting at 4:30. I was told it was starting at 5. Another person was told it was starting at 5:30. So if somebody just wants to take the lead on it and just be the straight voice, and then we'll follow that lead, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, I think we're looking at staff to be assigned to a project
Your
when they
comment.
have time.
Just a little context on that one. Some of that I think there was about a month where, PLR had moved on, and the duties of leading the subcommittee were loosely divided between staff, myself, and Peter. And I think we all gave, particularly in one case, conflicting instructions to you. So that's certainly on us. Yeah.
Anything else? If not, we'll adjourn. Thank you.